All right, it's the Illusion, reporting from somewhere on Spaceship Earth. I'm with artist Sage Vaughn in his studio out here in Pasadena, right? In Pasadena?
Pasadena.
Dang, I'm way out of bounds today. Anyway, we're just going to jump right into it. You were talking about your first studio in Geneva.
Yeah, because we were talking about Malibu, and when I went to Geneva, I'm from the Valley, and it was like the most kind of exotic place I'd ever been. That was the most European, everything, oldest place, and I was blown away. The UN's there and everything. And then the second time I did a show there, I started looking around different, and it's like also like one of the biggest banking capitals of. It's just like a place for very wealthy people to hang out, and wealthier than anything I was even familiar with. And then I just started seeing all the dark side of that, like and kind of liking it, like just like watching and knowing that I'm leaving here, you know. But all the sin that they import, all the weird stuff that they like, how bored rich people are, like it's such a bummer. Like you're like, fuck, dude, if I had that much money, I'd be going crazy, you know. But like it's like, dude, my grandparents had this much money, and now we're just bored with it. Like I remember we went to a club, and I look, and there's like these two beautiful girls by themselves. I'm like, what's wrong? Like, why can't these girls like find a dude? And then my friend's like, they're hookers. I'm like, oh, like I'm so far out of my realm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, well, that sucks, or that's good. Like, I don't even know how to feel about that. Like, am I stoked for them or not?
So what made you choose Geneva? That's an interesting choice coming out of the gates.
I had some friends in New York that were other artists, and at the time I didn't know the scene here in LA. I still don't really know it so well, but I had a couple friends out there who were successful artists, and I would go out there and visit with them. And one of them was like, "I got these guys. They're Swiss. They're art dealers. I showed them some of your stuff, and they'd be down to do something with me." And I was like, "No way," because I was still like, I had a hookup on a good gallery in New York that was like my friend Jason Dill, the skater.
Okay.
He was good friends with this guy that owned this building, and the bottom floor was a gallery right in Soho. So I go kick it with Dill in New York. We do a show. We do it our way. It was awesome. And then I'd leave, but I didn't have to get into the whole like art criticism kind of art world there. We just do it our way. We invite like all of our friends and have a party, and it was fun. Then and here in LA, I was doing shows that were like I'd rent out my friend's warehouse space, and we'd have a good show. I mean, this is small time stuff. It was fun. And then this was the first like pro gallery that were like, let's do something.
That was in Geneva.
Yeah, and I was like, what? I don't even believe. I remember being on the plane with my.
How old were you?
I was like 24.
Nice.
I was on the plane with my wife. I wasn't married then. No, this must have been, maybe I was like 27. But I was on the plane with her, thinking, we're flying out there. I've never met these people. Like, I don't know how this is going to go. Like, we're going to land, and what if the dude's a dick? Or, like, I remember tripping out. It was cool. It was fun. We had a great time. They were super nice. I learned a whole different way of living. Like, really patient way of living. Like, real hospitable. Like, Americans have nothing on hospitality compared to Europeans. Like, Europeans... Well, especially LA people too, but like Europeans the guys I've met, they'll drop everything and just be with you while you're there. Where here you're like, sorry, you didn't rent a car, we can't hook up, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. There's some of that going on out here for sure. Did you know you were an artist early?
Well, my dad was an artist.
Okay.
My dad and mom, like they were hippies. They lived I was born up in Ashland, Oregon.
All right.
And they were down to make it work up there, and like they ended up needing some dough, and kind of the dream was kind of fading. The crest of the wave was starting to recede a little bit, and no one wanted to like walk around naked anymore and grow their own food or whatever. Tired of the pipes freezing and shit. So when I was about 4, we moved down to the valley, and then like because
that's a shift.
It was the only naked kid running around Reseda, you know. But
so nudity's part of your story.
Dude, back in the day, and then it was like quickly like my parents weren't like we're not naked people anymore. And I was like, oh man, I still get weird about it. But we moved down to the valley, and my dad got a job working for Disney. He went from being a carpenter and an artist up in Oregon. He worked for Disney as an Imagineer, designing rides and stuff.
Okay.
So I grew up in this like really like creative environment. That was Disney's like the 80s. Disney was like cocaine, Mickey Mouse, like Epcot, like that kind of vibe. So my dad was like really, he wasn't doing cocaine, but like he was, we'd go to Orlando and it would be like, here Sage, here's like a trash can full of Legos. Or here's like all the art supplies you wanted, you know? I never knew how to play basketball or anything like that, but like, it's just the way I bonded with my dad. He was like super, he really fostered creativity. And so that's kind of like, I started just, I always could draw. Got a little bit older, was doing graffiti because that was like the fun way to do art. That was exciting.
The trip to the dark side, right? You have to go, man. You know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like my spectrum of experience is really wide open because of it. Like I definitely, like my worst day to day is, I'm not gonna lose a lot of sleep over like, I'm not losing my temper in traffic. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've had enough bad stuff that was really bad that I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be late. Like things don't always work out, you know.
I think it's still, man.
Because when you were doing the Thrasher read through, he was on. That was his first big cover in years, and he had the broken arm.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you're like, and you look at that cover, and that's like a classic Thrasher. It's not like any of the new stuff.
Yeah, he's in
like,
that crazy pool,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
And the pool looks rugged and rough,
No,
dude. And he's like, I mean, he's like one of my all-time. Like, I was friends with him for 5 years before I ever saw him on a skateboard.
Interesting.
And just like digging the vibe, we were reading the books, like going to checking out the art. Every time I go to New York, it was on. And every time he'd come here, he would stay at my studio and we'd make art and do weird shit. And then recently he got fired up again, and he's like been going for it for the past 2 years.
And he's here in LA, right?
Yeah, he's here in LA. He just got signed to Vans full time. He's on
Vans for life. Wait, where are they? Yeah, Waffle Souls.
So he's full time on a team now, like legit. That's like top of the mountain, you know?
Oh yeah, man. Vans is the real deal.
Well, how's this? Like, okay, this thing that trips me out. Skater art is so good. Like, look at Puff's head.
Yeah.
Like, all that shit is so fucking good. Surf art.
Not so much, man.
Like, that would be a dream of mine. My dream used to be to, like, I want to illustrate the best children's book in the world. Like, the way, like, Maurice Sendak, Wild Things, like, that kind of stuff. Like, to make a piece of art that would, like, be for kids forever and, like, kind of tweak their little minds when they were kids would be rad. But now, like, part of my dream is to, like, something new has to happen in surf art because it is...
Sucks. Well, that's funny. Okay, we come full circle, right? Isn't that reflective of like the surfing cultures? Is it's really pretty square and anal and uptight.
There's a lot of it that like is not open-minded, whereas like skate is really open-minded and really like crazy and like fucked up and like you get a gay pro skater, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people will be like, yeah, we're hanging. It's fucking
no
cool.
one cares.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a surfer to go public in the gay
No
club?
public.
No public.
I wonder how many like secret.
I mean, I've always tripped on the closet gay surfer.
Right?
Because there's got to be one.
Dude, me and the Marshall brothers did this. This was a fucked up thing we were gonna do. We did this whole like stick figure drawing of different symbols of the way people sat in the lineup as gay code. So like, so there'd be like one, if you sit with a tail of your board out, that means you're a bottom. If you like sit on it sideways like this and you just hold the edge, it means meet me in the lot. Like all these different things, and we were gonna start putting them up everywhere.
Oh yeah.
So that every lineup, everyone would be super self-conscious about the way they're sitting and like.
Well, isn't that how absurd surfing is? It's a self-conscious. Everybody's worried about how they look.
Did you see me catch that wave?
Yeah, no, that's the weird thing is the photographers and the weird shit going on in surfing. But I think it reflects in the art, like a surfing magazine. Like I can't look at them anymore because there's no humor in them.
There's no humor and there's not. I mean, as much as I can't believe that nobody could find anything new to do with surf photography or like. I mean, nothing, like, I can't, like, Keegan Gibb, you know,
Keegan's my boy, yeah.
Keegan does some stuff that I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
That I'm, like, excited. He did some crazy shit that I was just like that. And Danny Fuller has done some cool photographs of waves breaking over periods of time that I thought was really beautiful. But to me, I mean, like, skating's just always innovating itself and re-innovating itself and its look and, like, what, like, and you know what I mean. And now it's got like branches of like skinny jean dudes, like guys, like I don't think there's as many guys with the giant baseball caps and chains do it anymore. But remember when that was happening?
That was the dark era.
Yeah, there's like that
small wheels, big pants, and crooked ball caps.
Totally, and just like jock surfers. I mean, skaters. You're like, oh, okay. I got into skating because I didn't get along with anybody.
Well, I think that's an interesting aspect of like surfing and skating. Like skating still is like an outlaw sport, as mainstream it is. I mean, the cops will come up to you and still bust you.
Yeah.
But now surfing used to be an outlaw sport, but now you get PE credits in high school. So you have all these kids that are actually counting their money like in high school.
Yeah.
So I mean, skaters are doing the same thing because there's money, but God bless them. Yeah.
Yeah, God bless anybody who's making a living off like that stuff. But like, yeah, the surfing thing. You know what else it is? It's just like I think the machine behind skating is younger, whereas like there's dudes in Ohio who've never seen the ocean wearing like rip curl shirts. You know what I mean?
It's weird.
Whereas like skating, like you could skate anywhere. I mean, skating is gonna be a bigger moneymaker than surfing soon, but.
Well, I think it's about to really break out. You got Lil Wayne on a skateboard now.
That's true.
It was funny. I was checking there's some haters about Lil Wayne, and I go, you can hate all you want on Lil Wayne, but he still has to take a beating if he wants to skate. I mean, I think he got stitches already, like blew his chin apart or something, right? Like,
great. You
can go and surf and never have a scary moment if you want.
It's true. Totally.
Never, ever be scared.
Let's go to San Onofre.
Yeah. Ride a longboard all day and never fear for your life.
Yeah.
Skateboarding, if you look at the thing, it could attack you.
Yeah. And dude, it's just, and you hit so hard.
So it's good for surfing training though.
Well, it's funny, dude. The first time I skated again after surfing, when I fell, I was like, oh, I was like, bam! Oh, that's right. You hit so hard skating.
Well, you know what's weird though for me? Like I thought surfing though. On the other hand, I've been to the hospital more times for surfing-related injuries than skating. Like the ocean's radical.
The thing that happened to me with the ocean was when I got into it and started surfing, which was only like 6 years ago. I came to realize that I spent a lot of my life avoiding things I was afraid of.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, if there's something I'm not good at, or I'm afraid I won't look cool at, or might be challenging, I was like clever at avoiding it. In surfing, you gotta take it in the fucking face. Like if it's a big day at Zumba, there's only one way out. There's a channel.
You got a deal.
Yeah, and so like I remember thinking like, okay, here's a counterintuitive way of approaching things that you're afraid of. Like you gotta go for it.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Surfing's pretty radical. I dig it.
Like we were in Indonesia when that huge quake hit.
You were.
We were out in the Mentawais. We were at Macaroni's, and Keegan was in the water, and I was laying in the boat tired, and it felt like the engine was malfunctioning because the boat was just all like bum 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 bum. And I was like, that's weird. The engine's probably weird. And then Keegan paddled in and was like, do you guys feel something? And I was like, yeah, it was the engine or whatever. Then we start getting reports in that it was an earthquake. Then we start getting reports about how big the earthquake was. And then it was just like we had a couple of Indo dudes on the crew on the boat, so that we were like, all right, we got to get these guys back to their homes. So we cut the trip short, went into Padang, and we got in at night. And it was a long voyage back across the channel. I remember I sat on the front of the boat with Keegan the whole time, and we were talking about art, kind of trying to avoid the reality that we're about to face. Of like, we're coming into the city at night, we have no idea what we're coming into, or if we're going to be able to get...
This is the one where Vaughn got leveled. Yeah, I heard it's gnarly.
And we were like, it's a long story, but I mean, we ended up pulling into the bay, and like, on Tsunami Watch that whole night, like, we might have to cut anchor and just roll, we don't know what's going to happen. And it was really interesting for me, like, the next day at dawn
all right, we're back in there. Tsunami.
So we went out the next morning in the boat, like across to look at Padang from the ocean, and the whole thing looked like a Picasso painting. Like nothing was straight. Really? Everything was crooked and like smoking and weird. And like in my head, I was thinking, how do I get home? How do I get out of this like foreign place? And and I was on the boat. I was fortunate enough to be on the boat with this guy named John Rose, he's a pro surfer, and he does this charity called Waves for Water. And he had these water filters that after our trip, he was planning on going on to this place called Ubud outside of Bali and donating them to a village to kind of demonstrate how these they're amazing water filters. And he jumped on the boat with the Indo guys, and he brought the filters, and we went into town. And here I was like, here I am on this fucking $1 million boat, like, with a chef.
Yeah.
Like, worried about how I'm going to get back to air conditioning. You know what I mean? Like, my house and, like, all my stuff. And here's this guy that I just surfed all these great waves with, and we shared a lot of stoke and, like, jumping, like, into it. And I remember just thinking, like, fuck, dude, that was, like, complete opposite of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And I was really, like, blown away. I was like, okay, what do we do? Like, how does this change now? What does this mean? What can we do?
Well, no, that was, I remember, because our captain was all involved with that, too. He was like, dude, we just put everyone on and drove them straight to the airport. There's nothing you can do. Like, on a certain level, like, there's nothing you can do.
Nothing. I mean, we were at the airport. We were sleeping in our board bags for, like, about a day and a half. And just watching, like, wheelchair after wheelchair of these people who got smashed, you know?
Yeah.
And we were like, it was really hard to argue for a seat on a plane. Next to someone like that. You're like, nah, I'm all right. I got a granola bar. Like, I'll be fucking fine. Like,
yeah, I'm fine.
There's like a bashed, like, old lady. You're like, and then, like, you know, I mean, it was pretty rad. Like, everyone who was on the boat was really on the same wavelength. Like, really cool about it.
Were you here for Northridge?
Yes.
That was rad, wasn't it?
Can I tell you my favorite Northridge story? Because I was living up in Chatsworth with my dad. Came home shit-faced that night. Just partying up at, like, top of Reseda. Drinking, smoking bowls all night. Come home, like, the shake happens, and I'm just like, dude, this is trippy. Like, I'm like on these two mattresses on the floor, they're just sliding around. And I wake up, and I'm gonna go take a piss, and my dad's in the doorway with my little sister. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, get in the doorway. I'm like, why? He's like, there was an earthquake. I'm like, oh, you felt that too? Like, I didn't know. I thought I was just like...
I thought I was hammered.
Totally. And we went out the next day because my mom and dad had split up, so we were going to go to my mom's house to see if she was all right. Because she was out of town, but we were going to check on the house. And this is still my favorite thing I've ever seen, like, ever. Because at one point, the whole city, like, all of the valley was just in darkness. No power, nothing. There's fires. And all the cinder block walls had fallen over. Because they were shitty built. And, like, and at one point, my dad stops at this intersection to, like, make sure no other cars are coming. And a pack of, like, 100 dogs, pets, goes by. Just like a giant, they had all the walls fall down, they all just fucking got together, dog party. Like, they were just running free, the happiest I'd ever seen. And I just looked at them, and it was like super surreal. Like, we were going through this broken city, and then all of a sudden this pack of, like, all of them wearing collars, just running by in a big party. I was like, dude, that's kind of rad.
Dog party.
Dog party.
Where's that energy coming from? The superhero kids up against the gnarly urban settings.
The kids for me are like, oh man, I just like those weird little spots where, I don't know, when, like, nobody's watching that kid and they're playing their imagination and they're making up emotions that we don't even have words for, and they're doing it. Like, they're living life completely creatively. Like, completely instinctually and, like, 100% there. I think as adults, we have to contextualize and socialize our behavior so that it fits in the way that everyone else just thinks is normal. Like, you know, people used to die of melancholy, you know? Like, and now we're like, no, science says it's not a real thing. You're like, dude, I don't know about that. Like, I've seen people almost go down from it, you know?
Oh, yeah, it's the grandparent who dies because the other one just died.
Exactly, and so, like, we're like, no, it was a heart attack. You're like,
they checked out.
What a boring way to look at everything. So, but I like the way these kids do it, and then I noticed, like, sometimes when I'm making the images, I feel like it's hard. I'm not really super good at being subtle, and I felt like when the kids put on those costumes, there's different between boys and girls, but that part of them gets amplified. The part that's like a kid dressed as Spider-Man is not a kid dressed as Spider-Man. They are Spider-Man in their head. And they're not the one that they, like, read in the book, they're like whatever they made up of like what Spider-Man is for them, how it fits their life. And I'm like, that's cool, because like me, I dress up in a costume for like a Halloween party, and I feel like a dork, you know, and I go there and I'm self-conscious about it, you know. And I think it's weird if you're an adult and you're dressed in a costume and you're like, no, this is really who I am. You're like, I'm feeling it. But the kids, so I love it. And then the girls, when they put like flowers on their head and do all this stuff, they become these like, it's a different creature. They become these like super princesses that are like, there's a girl who's like, you know, she's like complaining about whatever, then she's like, you know, a whiny little girl, and she gets dressed up as like a princess, and she like floats through the room.
Yeah.
And she like bows, and you're like, where did you even get, like, what kind of world are you making up in your head right now? It's so cool. It's kind of, it's funny. Like, I like that part of it.
Yeah.
Like, that part of it's weird. It's like, it's a weird type of communicating. Like, it's really indirect. Like, I have this feeling when I start a piece, I put it all on that thing on the wall, and then someone stands next to me, looks at that piece, and then tells me something about themselves. Like, they don't really tell me anything about what I was thinking. You know, and if I painted something that was really, like, you know, like that, like, really was, like, forced them to see a certain thing, it would just be kind of boring. So, like, they'll tell me something, and I've had really terrible conversations and really great ones, you know? Like, I'm always, like, I remember I did this painting, I saw this picture of Pippi Longstocking, and she was riding a bike with no wheels. And so I did a painting of her doing that, and I was like, that's really rad. This was like 10 years ago. And I thought it was super cool, really easy to understand portrait of a child's imagination and the strength of all this stuff. And this guy's like, I want to buy this painting because, you know, I love riding my bike and working out. I was like, oh, okay. When we were at that Mocha party, I was there with some friends, and they were so excited because Tom York just DJ'd. That big titty redhead chick from Mad Men was there. And like they were like, oh dude, look at all these people. And I was looking around and I saw you, and I totally fanned out. I was like, what's up, dude? Hey, what's up, man? So nice to meet you. And you're like, I'm like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm just making thought bubbles for all these people out there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a really good use of time right now. Like, as opposed to being super self-conscious about like who's who and what's what.
Well,
that's what like all my paintings with the birds and the owls like right outside your window. I paint the birds mainly because like they live with us the most outside of like rats and cockroaches. Mm-hmm. They're the most beautiful thing I could paint that lives with us in close like proximity. And like we'll cut down trees and turn them into telephone poles and then plant them back in the ground in concrete, and birds will still land on top of them. But instead of landing on branches, they're landing on these lines that hold our conversations, that keep us close to each other even though we live far apart. Now there's birds sitting on those, making nests, shitting on the ground, like, you know, doing all the same stuff. And like I'm like coming from Oregon, moving to LA, I'm always like really relating to that coyote that's like walking down an alleyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that part of it where it's like, yeah, dude, I mean, like, yeah, we live in a city and everyone's got to make sure their shoes are clean and you know, they've got the car nice, but dude, we're not that far from, I mean, in my heart, I'm not that far from just like, what does it mean to just be alive and be an animal? It's a real trip. I mean, like, for me, it's like, I have this weird thing when it comes to commerce, because I make these luxury goods. Like, I mean, it really comes down to it. Like, they're artistic endeavors, and my heart's in it in that manner. But, like, because of the nature of things and the path that they've gone on, I can't afford my painting. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a weird thing for me. Like, I didn't come out of Yale with like that whole setup and like had a gallery show. Like, I sold to my friends, you know, and my friends were like, dude, that thing you spent time on is interesting enough to us that we'll trade you a little bit of scratch for it and whatever. And then it's like become this other thing. And so, but I mean, I also came from like, I was a construction worker. So like, for me, every day that I'm painting,
it's a victory, right?
Yeah, like I'm not listening to not like I have nothing against construction workers, but the crew I ran with, just racist fucks that were like, you know, just not like the best part about being men, you know what I mean? And like, we did a lot of hard work, and I was the shittiest carpenter in LA for like 4 years straight. Like, I was the worst.
I'm taking up your slack on that one, dude.
I was hands down. couldn't build a fucking right angle to save my life.
That's interesting. Well, no, I like what you said. You can't afford the art you're producing, man. That's a good thing, I suppose. At least you're selling.
It's a good thing in that regard, and I'm really grateful for it. It's a strange thing when you think about it, because you're like, I mean, I don't have anything against the people that buy my work, but like if it continues, like, you know, like I look at like artists that are really successful, and like partly like with that Mocha show, Mike D curated this thing with Mercedes Benz, and like some of the artists backed out of it because they're like, well, it's corporate sponsored, this, that, and I was like, yeah, but like, I mean, like, everything is like, what are you tripping on? Like, you're gonna find something sponsored by like, you know,
nothing.
Yeah, broke nuns and like whole like raw coconut water. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it doesn't happen. Like, that museum is sponsored by like disgusting pharmaceutical companies and like oil companies. Like, you know, so if you're gonna be mad at like a company that makes like a very expensive car, that's, you could fight the power. Okay, I'm not gonna stop you, but like, the big picture here is like, I mean, it's all been sold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, if you could, you know, Michelangelo's painting for the church. So like, it's like, we're making luxury goods here. Like, if you want to fight that, you know, fight, you can. But like, at some point, it's a weird one.
Randomly put on this Jerry Garcia interview that came up on my
Sick, dude,
YouTube thing, right? Like, it just was there, Jerry Garcia 1994, and I was like, put it on. Oh yeah, yeah, dude, all the way. Punker, Deadhead, the whole. I'm all about frequencies.
I'm all about good drugs. They had the best.
They had the best. They certainly did. That was a golden time.
That was a magic moment, dude. I was right out of high school. Was just like,
oh yeah.
I was like, okay, we're going to Vegas shows, we're doing all this stuff. It gave me such a weird self-reliance, too.
Well, yeah.
Check out this piece my friend gave me. I'll move back. But there's a little, he did this fake weed shop that was all Legos. And this was one of the posters. It's a fucking steal your face all made out of Legos.
Wow. Oh, yeah. For the deadheads. Yeah, see, dude? Deadheads. Steal your face made out of Legos.
Pretty solid,
yeah,
right?
Solid.
It's a stony piece of art.
I was just watching this thing about the pyramids, and there was this Egyptologist. Anything that came for an alternative way of looking at it, he was just coming up with like scientific protocol why it can't happen. It's like, well, wait a minute. There's a 100-mile line that circumnavigates the entire globe that touches all these, from Easter Island to the Giza Pyramid to Angkor Wat. Goes around the whole fucking globe, bro. And if you go to where that North Pole would be, all of them are crunchable by pi and the fucking golden ratio, and you're telling us that that's just a coincidence. Like, right, like I think as creative people, you're like, yeah, this is all bullshit.
Yeah. You're definitely, or at least, you're like, well, basically everything I do is to open my mind. And like, see this stuff. So like, maybe it's not correct, but at least like, I'm not going to deny it. You know, like, you're like, well, okay, tell me more. Like, what does that mean? They're like, why is this happening? Like, what, tell me about Bigfoot. What's going on?
Dude, you had theories about Bigfoot, dude.
What's your theory about Bigfoot?
My theory about
Is he cannibalistic? Does he eat meat?
I don't know, man. I haven't really thought, like, on what he's chowing off of. I thought about where he came from. My theory is he's just a regular person that goes into the forest and just eats the magic mushroom and does the full, and it affects his DNA, and he becomes one. I mean, we've all experienced the moment in the forest, especially, living up in Oregon. You're like, zoom, zzz, and you're in, right?
Totally.
But you eat the real one and you go for it, but because you're perceiving things different, right? And you tap into the whole holographic reality deal of it all, is he just changes his form to fit his environment.
Oh, yeah.
Because now he's totally living in a different mind space, and he's changing his DNA from within to, like, so he's got to get bigger so he can do his thing, and he needs the hair and the whole thing. And I figure he's probably a vegan. If you want to go, I figure that makes a lot of sense. So what's your take on like street art and where it's going right now?
I didn't understand street art until I went to London either, because I grew up in LA doing graffiti and it was vandalism. Like I'm a huge fan of vandalism. So my view on street art's really tainted in that sense, because I grew up here when tag banging was a thing, and like that was where I cut my teeth on just basically like scampering around the city after dark, being really afraid everyone's out to get you, like living like a rat, you know, trying to like throw a tag up, you know, and there's no art in it. And it was like, it's like territorial pissing and like all that stuff. And I've seen, I got out of graffiti because I lost interest in it. I didn't like getting beat up. I didn't have that. And I wanted to do artwork. And I've seen different versions of street art over the years. And it wasn't until when I got into London, I was like, oh, because here it's always like competing with graffiti.
Yeah.
And there it was like, no, it's its own thing. And they have like a mutual like understanding. Like this is graffiti, this is street art. And I was like, oh, we don't have that in the States. Like, you know, like you would get your ass kicked if you tried to do that without. But now it's okay. Like I didn't understand. I still had a lot of old views on it.
So it is. So it wasn't. So it wasn't just random, that awakening.
For me, no, that's where I got it too. Like I had a show out there, and the guys that were working at the gallery, the young dudes that hang the work and clean the walls, we went out, and they're like, next time here, you should do some like street art with us. I was like, nah, man, like. I don't do that. Like I'm not trying to do that. He's like, no, it's cool. It's like, it's cool. Like we'll think of a cool thing you can do, and we'll do it. And I was like, I have to already have been doing that and have it be respected by the right dudes with the right pedigree on the street. You know, I can't just hop in and do this. Like it doesn't work like that. They're like, oh yeah, it totally does. It's totally, like it's a fun thing that we get to do.
No,
and I was like, oh, cool, that is, for me it was like, what a relief. That was like interesting and exciting, and then my mind like went from this closed thing to open up.
Have I been missing this my whole time in my own city?
How trippy is that?
So it's not going on like it is there here.
Well, here, I mean,
it's coming.
I think it's coming. There's a lot of dudes like, this is the really interesting thing in my book. The guys that were very scary when I was writing graffiti, they are all now fighting these old archaic rules within LA against public art. They're doing like skywriting, like this guy Saber, he has Guinness Book of World Records for the biggest graffiti piece. It was in the LA River, fucking over 165 feet long. It was like one of those things as a child when I saw it. It was like you saw the Sphinx in Egypt. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And this was made by a dude. Like it blew my mind, and like the myths about how he blew out his knees by standing on the angles for so long, all this stuff. Like, that was the cool thing about graffiti. It was ours. I mean, like not that I'm a big graffiti dude or anything like that, but
no,
like,
but I get you.
That world, that the legends, all of it.
So it was just for the players.
Yeah, and so those dudes now, like Saber, Retina, like all these guys from this one crew that was like actually a pretty formidable crew. Like these are the guys that you had to like check your stuff with. And I was the youngin', so I wasn't really even on their radar, and I didn't do it long enough or with enough commitment to ever get there. But I know these guys now because like we all respect each other in the art world, and I'm a secret big fan of theirs, you know.
Yeah.
They're pushing to get more street art here in LA, because like you're only gonna get dudes like Shepard Fairey who are like putting wheat pasting up, which is like, as far as graffiti goes, that's like the most flaccid thing you can do. Versus the other dudes who are like doing those big, beautiful pieces out there, like big public pieces that are really rad.